Still, she tried. When she knocked on his office door earlier that morning, her hands shaking, she said softly, "Mr. Clayton, I just need one more week. My next paycheck." He didn't even look up from his tablet. "Rules are rules, Miss Parker. You signed the lease. Rent is due on the 1st. Please. It's just me and my little boy." He sighed, annoyed. "Maybe you should have thought of that before having kids you can't afford." The words hit her like a punch. She left with her pride shattered. Now, 12 hours later, the same man had made good on his threat, in the middle of a snowstorm. Sarah wrapped Ethan in her old coat, opened the door, and faced the blinding snow. She whispered, "We'll find shelter. We always do." But she didn't know where to go. Every shelter she called earlier had been full. She stepped onto the icy sidewalk, snowflakes biting her face like tiny needles. She could barely see past the end of the block. That's when a truck pulled up, headlights piercing the white fog. A man jumped out, covered in snow, wearing a thick parka. "Ma'am. Are you okay?" Sarah froze. Her voice cracked. We were just evicted." The man's face shifted from concern to disbelief. "In this weather? That's insane." He took a step closer. "Get in the truck. You'll freeze to death out here." Sarah hesitated. "I don't even know you." He removed his gloves and offered his hand. "Name's David Miller. Volunteer firefighter. And I'm not leaving you and your kid out here." Ethan looked up from her arms, shivering. "Mommy, please." Sarah's instincts screamed to protect her son, but the storm was worsening fast. Finally, she nodded. "Okay." They climbed in. The heater blasted warm air, thawing their frozen fingers. For the first time in hours, Sarah exhaled. "Thank you," she whispered. David looked at her through the rearview mirror. "You can tell me everything once you're warm. I've got a feeling there's more to this story." Sarah looked down, her eyes wet. "There is." As the truck drove into the storm, past the glowing streetlights, she glanced out the window, unaware that what would happen next would make headlines across Canada and melt millions of hearts. Snow kept falling like endless white rain as David's old truck rumbled through the frozen streets of Toronto. Inside, Sarah held Ethan close, whispering prayers he was too sleepy to hear. David glanced at the boy, concern clouding his face. "He's burning up. He needs warmth and rest fast." Sarah nodded, fighting tears. "The shelters are full. I already called everywhere." David hesitated. "Then you're both coming to my place. I live just outside the city. It's not much, but it's warm." Sarah looked up. "You do that for strangers?" He smiled gently. "Sometimes strangers are the only ones who show up when the world turns its back on you." That line hit Sarah deep. She didn't know it yet, but this man would soon change her life, and the arrogant landlord's too. An hour later, they pulled into a quiet neighborhood dusted in white. David's small but cozy house glowed with light. He hurried to open the door. "Get inside, quickly." Sarah stepped in, shivering, and gasped. The fireplace crackled warmly, the smell of hot chocolate filled the air, and a Christmas wreath still hung above the mantel even though it was February. "Sit down. I'll grab some blankets." Sarah wrapped Ethan in soft fleece and watched as color returned to his cheeks. She whispered, "Thank you, God." When David came back, she asked softly, "Why are you helping us?" He hesitated. "My mom raised me alone. I know what it's like to watch her struggle while people with money looked the other way." Sarah's eyes softened. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Later that night, when Ethan was asleep, she quietly told David everything, losing hours at the bakery, pleading with her landlord, being thrown out in a blizzard. David's jaw tightened. Evicting you in this weather isn't just cruel, it's illegal. I know someone at the city housing office. We can report him. Sarah's eyes widened. Would that even help? David nodded. If he violated the Residential Tenancies Act, he could face a huge fine, maybe even lose his license to rent. Sarah hesitated. I don't want revenge. I just want a chance to start over. David smiled. Then let's start by making sure no one else suffers like you did. The next morning, David posted about what happened on his local community Facebook page. Last night, a single mother and her little boy were thrown out into a snowstorm by their landlord. They had nowhere to go. I picked them up freezing on the side of the road. If anyone can help them get back on their feet, message me. By morning, the post had over 30,000 shares. News outlets picked it up. Single mother evicted during snowstorm finds hope in strangers' kindness, flooded social media feeds across Canada. Donations poured in, heaters, food, clothes, and even job offers. People from Vancouver to Halifax wanted to help. Sarah couldn't believe it. Why are people being so kind to me? David smiled. Because sometimes, kindness just needs a spark. But that wasn't the end. 2 days later, Sarah got a call from a reporter. Ms. Parker, we're running a story on your eviction. We also contacted your landlord, Mr. Clayton, for comment. Sarah froze. What did he say? The reporter chuckled. He said it was just business. But after our story aired on national TV, the City Housing Authority announced a full investigation. Turns out, you're not the first tenant he's illegally evicted. Sarah's eyes widened. You mean? Yes. He's facing multiple complaints. They might revoke his rental license and fine him tens of thousands of dollars. Sarah couldn't speak. It was poetic justice, pure and cold as the snow that once covered her doorstep. A week later, as donations continued to come in, David handed Sarah a folded piece of paper. What's this? She asked. He grinned. A new lease. My cousin's a realtor. Someone heard your story and wants to offer you a small apartment rent-free for 6 months. Sarah's hands shook. I don't know what to say. Say yes, David said warmly. And maybe bake me one of those famous cupcakes I've been hearing about. She laughed through tears. Deal. Months later, spring returned to Toronto. Sarah stood behind the counter at a new bakery she co-owned, Ethan's Treats, named after her son. Business was booming, thanks to customers who had seen her story and wanted to support her journey. A familiar face walked in, Mr. Clayton. His pride was gone, his clothes were plain. Sarah, he began awkwardly, I came to apologize. She looked him straight in the eye. You didn't just throw us out that night, Mr. Clayton. You taught me what kind of person I never want to become. He nodded silently and left. As Sarah watched him go, Ethan tugged her sleeve. Mommy, are we rich now? She smiled. No, sweetheart. But we're happy. And that's the real wealth. The camera pans out as soft music plays, snowflakes falling gently outside the bakery window. Sometimes, the coldest nights bring out the warmest hearts. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and drop your city in the comments below. Together, we can make kindness go viral.